Hello, I'm JW. This time we have some nasty sockets which were sent in. We're going to take these apart and see what's going on inside. Now this one, as it says on the front there, the switch is basically stuck in the on position. That was after I had a 2 kilowatt heater plugged into it for a length of time. And we've got another one here which also had a heater plugged in, and that one has actually got a big crack right across the middle of the socket there, so again a bit of a fail there. And then the third one, which is all the same make of these by the way, this one is actually cracked right across the front with the heater, and it also had a charger plugged into the other side, and it's actually started to melt through the face of the socket over there. So lots of failures, and these are all the same, so we'll take these apart and see what's going on inside. Now these three were sent in by Gavin, who said in the note there that these were purchased in 2014 and they're installed also at the same time. And one of these, as we see, has a sort of a hole melting through here, big crack right across the middle of this one, big crack across the side of this one, and then this one the switch is basically jammed in the on position, and 2 kilowatt loads, I mean nothing particularly excessive there, and obviously a USB charger or radio, again nothing unusual with that either, and so a couple of fluorescent lamps were put into this one. Now on the back of these it's just sort of this brown colour. It just says double pole here, line neutral and earth markings, 30 amps to 50 volts, and BS3063. What's conspicuous here is any absence of any manufacturer's label, as it doesn't really have anything else. All we've got here is a little thing that says M2 in a circle, maybe that might be the manufacturer. Number 7 for UF, that's going to be the type of plastic. And May 14, of course, which is presumably when they were manufactured, given they were installed in 2014, fairly likely. And the rest of it's just anonymous brown, no real information provided. Now these are actually fixed together with screws, and again we've got these sort of crimped down earth bar arrangement, so I'll just drill out the actual rivet there so we can take the thing apart. And the other thing on the note is that these were not bought from some dodgy supplier, they came from a local electrical supplier. So it wasn't from sort of eBay or some other horrible place like that. But nevertheless, they've still failed in various undesirable ways. And you certainly wouldn't expect things to just simply crack through just because someone happened to plug a moderate load in. And 2 kilowatts in terms of UK socket is fairly moderate, because these are designed to take up to 13 amps, which is in the region of 3 kilowatts. So 2 kilowatts, of course, well within that. So I've just drilled away the rivet there. This one grabbed and twisted somewhat, but these things do happen. So let's see what we've got inside these. This is the one which is basically cracked all the way from almost the edge of the faceplate, all the way through the earth hole there, and all the way up to the edge where the switch is. So presumably due to overheating. So let's get these screws out, and then we'll see what's inside. Now, so you wouldn't expect sockets to overheat with, say, only a 2 kilowatt or so load in there, because they're designed, or theoretically they're designed to accommodate that for pretty much an indefinite period. But certainly in this case, it obviously didn't. So let's get those screwed out of there, and then we shall see what we've got inside. So there's the faceplate, shutters over the sockets there spring to the actual moulding here, and you can see the crack there. It's literally through the entire plate, so it's pretty much all the way down to the bottom there and up to the switch hole at the top, so definite failure with that. Here's the inside of this one. The switches here just lift away there, fairly usual arrangement. And it's pretty typical, we've seen in others with the sprung plungers there. Just act on the pieces of copper here for the switching mechanism, and as it said on the back, these are double pole, so switching in the line and the neutral. Just remove that, that's one of the switching pieces there with a little button on the face there, so it's literally just pressing it either against contact or not in the case of it being in the off position. Now we can see on this side the colouring of the actual bars there is totally different to this side, and here's where the crack was, so it appears that the heat has basically spread across the entire set of the conductors there, And of course that's what would have cracked the thing on the front. It's just the presumably plastic shutter arrangement there. Now, so you see here that this particular conductor here is significantly discoloured, so the switches themselves are also rather discoloured compared to this side here, sort of copper colour, and then the brass there. These are almost orange in colour, and it's sort of blue in this area here, so it seems likely that it's the actual switches that have caused the overheating problem, and that heat's also been dissipated via the two conductors here, and also that will then result in the cracking of the face plate, because of course that's where the plate would go, and it's directly where all of the heat has been coming off here. So in the case of this one, it appears to be a failure of the switch itself, presumably a high resistance connection on the switch there, and I say it's on both of these, so it's not just the fact that it was one of them. So it might have been like it's not a loose connection here, because that would have also gone underneath. It's definitely on the ones coming out of the two switches, and they've both overheated in pretty much the same way there, so a definite fail with that one. Let's just take these out. As is common with these things, it's just sort of drops in and places together. And again, on the back of this one, we can see that different colour there, the sort of blue and pink colouring there, which of course is where the overheating has been occurring. Let's take this side out as well. And then there's your two actual contact here. Again, on the back there are certainly not the same colour as the two on the other side. And we can actually see a bit of melt on here, and that's actually stuck onto the thing there. That's basically where one of the actual pins here has melted off onto the actual back of that, and of course as soon as it's melted, this is now going to be too short, the pressure is not going to be correct. And then that will actually increase the problem even further, because then you've got something which is now not providing the correct amount of pressure onto the contact, and of course that makes it even worse until eventually something fails. Now the other side looks pretty normal there, there's no discolouring on these at all, and on those either. And again, we see underneath there the discoloration on the terminal at the bottom, so that is due to a failure of the switch there, and then that's just migrated across and melted the plastic or caused it to crack on the front. Now this one is a similar deal, it's cracked again through where the earth pin goes, pretty much right to the edge of the plate in both directions. And we've also got this odd sort of burny bit in the middle here where it had a radio and a USB charger plugged in, which again is a very small load, only 1 amp or less probably. So let's get this one open, let's see what we've got in this one. So it screws out there. By the way, some of these screws on the other one had actually fell out in the packaging, so they did come with it. They've just obviously loosened as it was sent in the mail, but if you see any of those missing, it's not because they were missing, it's just because they happened to fall out and I haven't put them back in. So let's ease this one off of there. So there's the plate again, pretty much the same as before, and if we just bend that a bit, you can see the, well there you go, it's cracked into two pieces there, so literally right the way through the entire plate. This is a thermoset plastic, which is basically what that UF mark in there is, or urea formaldehyde, previously known as Bakelite or named similar to that. So that's what we've got on this one, so again, same design inside obviously. Now this is slightly different, and we don't see the same discoloration here as we saw in the other one. This one here may be slightly darker in appearance, but nothing like we had previously with the various colours showing. Now on this side, which is where this rather strange sort of melted bit through, and you see it's just sort of raised above the surface and starting to crack. What's directly under that is basically one of these conductors here. So again, there's no obvious signs of overheating. And if you have a look on the back here, it's essentially where this piece of raised plastic is located, which would have been in contact with one of these. So maybe that this is overheated, but nothing like to the same extent as it did on the other one, as the actual metal here hasn't discoloured. And again, we look on the back of that, it's pretty much the same colour as all of the rest of it. This one may be slightly discoloured, although it's, say, fairly minimal again. And again, the contacts here are still sort of bright copper coloured. And over this side again, it may have some minor discoloration on the neutral one here. And again, nothing anywhere like it had in the other one. So if something has overheated here, it's certainly not in the same degree as the previous one we saw. So just take out the other components there. And again, we're still seeing these are sort of bright copper coloured there, so either this hasn't overheated to anything like the same extent, it's just the fact that the heat was all conducted through to the front plate, causing it to fracture, or maybe it had a sort of weak point there anyhow. And then this thing definitely looks like a hot spot, so it's directly on the back here, although there's no particular evidence on the metal itself, but bearing in mind it doesn't necessarily have to get very hot in terms of the metal to cause damage to the plastic face there. Now this is the third one here, and this is one with a stuck-on switch. And another thing that's notable here, on the switch here and on the side, you see there's that sort of greyish deposit there, and that actually looks like soot, as if there's been some kind of arcing going on in the switch itself. And see it does sort of rub away from that. It's only on the bottom and the left side, so maybe there's been some sort of failure of the switches here. Again, a couple of T5 lamps is not going to be a particularly substantial load. It's going to be in the sort of region of, say, 40 or 50 watts each, so less than 100 watts in total. And the fact they're T5 means it will be an electronic ballast, so it's not like some big old switch start inductive thing where you might have a bit of a surge when it's on, because all T5s are driven from electronic ballast. So let's get the screws out of here and we'll see what we've got on this one. So screws right with that, so we'll place that down and see what we have. Right, well, on the lid here we can see pinging off of the shutter there. Straight away we can see all of this blackening and charring around here, so something has definitely been arcing and sparking away in there. That's say completely charred there, and it even extends down here to the shutters themselves. So let's just pry that off of there. Yeah, you can see it on the actual edge of the shutter there, and it just wipe away. So definitely a lot of soot and destruction going on in there. Now here's the insides here, and we can see that there's a substantial amount of blackening and soot on both of the conductors here and both of the ones over this side, so definitely some kind of misfortune occurring. And again, there's the rest of that blackening on the switch. So let's just remove those switches from there. Now if we just remove the actual plungers from that. Now this one, which is the left one, as you can see, it's completely black on the back here, so obviously some major fault has occurred here, or some kind of short circuit or something. That side looks reasonably clean, but we can see that the actual contact is welded onto this one, so certainly not going to work correctly there, although bizarrely the other side isn't actually welded on at all in this case, but it may have been dislodged when we removed it. Now bearing in mind this is the one that was stuck on over here, we can definitely see that it is stuck, so if we just remove that from there, there you have it. So that is just welded onto the other side, so that is definitely stuck on. Yeah, it will break away and leave a damage on that one, and of course it could have been that that was also welded there. It's just broken loose as we've removed it from the housing. Yeah, you can see the back of that. Again, it's been severely damaged and pitted, so there's the corresponding mark on the bottom. So the right hand side is basically welded shut, and obviously that meant it was being on all the time, and presumably someone has put in the plug here. It just caused some kind of arcing problem where it goes in to the actual contact there, and that is all pitted and blackened on both. Now this would suggest that something that was plugged in here has actually failed, probably on a short circuit, and that has therefore caused this excessive current which has welded these together and also caused all this blackening and damage and destruction. So in this case it's not the fact that it was a fairly low load, it's the fact that there's been a fault on what's plugged in. That's caused a very large short circuit current to flow and has welded these together. And the fact we've got the same damage over this side suggests that somebody, when they plugged it in here, there was a big bang and the switch welded together. They decided to try it in over here as well, and basically did the same thing. So we've got the extensive charring and pitting on both contacts. And up here, the switch, this hasn't welded shut, but as you can see, it's all burnt and destroyed in there. So someone has been plugging stuff in here that they definitely shouldn't have been. Yeah, you can see there the charring all the way to the top of that contact. And down in here, same problem again, it's all sooted and completely destroyed. So whether it was the lamp in question or whether somebody plugged something else in and just happened to cause a big bang, we obviously don't know, but that's definitely what's happened to that one. So we've got 3 failures there, but not actually the same in each case. This one is due to overheating within the actual either switch contact or some other loose connection inside. And you see the heat had migrated pretty much on both of the contacts and the whole lot of the stuff there. Eventually that, of course, leads to cracking of the faceplate. This one is also overheating damage, but not necessarily from the things inside. This could have just been the actual plug itself, so any loose connection, say in the line or neutral, plug gets hot and again results in the cracking there. This here is a bit of a mystery because it's definitely a very localized point there of heat damage, but it doesn't appear to be from the inside. So it was either something that was plugged in here, bizarrely created a little hot spot on the back of the plug or whatever was in there, or for some reason we've got a extremely localized bit of heat coming through from the back, but that seems somewhat unlikely. And then this one, this is due to something being plugged in that had a severe fault on it, basically creating a short circuit between the line and neutral, and whoever did it presumably plugged it in, there was a big bang and this welded itself shut, and then inexplicably they decided to remove the plug and try it over there to see if the same thing happened, and of course sure enough it did, although here it didn't actually weld the switch closed, it just caused a huge amount of blackening and destruction inside. And you can tell it was something that was plugged in when it was switched on because of the damage we saw on the actual contacts as well as the switch and everything else inside. So that's those 3 things there, and that's it for this time, and until next time, thanks for watching.